This video is actually part of a series of lectures that are in a class entitled the MBTI Learning Styles, the 16 Personalities. You can access this course at udemy.com, teachable.com, or thinkific.com. You can also find more information at studentsuccessbase.com, which is our website, and the information is in printed format on Amazon in both a paperback and Kindle versions. So an INTP is a very flexible personality, and they really are very tolerant of a lot of different personalities and behaviors. So it's really interesting to watch them because when any kind of flexibility disappears, wow, that's when they really stop adapting. So remember as we go forward though that these are intuition plus thinking. These are people that like that logic, arguments, competence, and independence. An INTP is going to seek for logical explanations for everything, but only stuff that really interests them. They like the theoretical and the abstract. Generally, they are described as being quiet, contained, calmed, even detached observers. So they're a person on the sidelines watching. But they can be very flexible as well. They have an unusual ability to really focus for long periods of times and to really delve into the depths of problems as long as they're interesting to them. They can be skeptical as well sometimes, even critical. So their frequency is 3.3 of the total population, and this particular personality type tends to be mostly male. Their keywords are both analytical and critical. I would even add the word logical, kind of like Mr. Spock, right? Logical, analytical, objectively critical. And their question that they like answered is, how is this structured? Let's take a peek for a moment at their learner style. Now, how do they learn? Now, they really comprehend easily very complicated and complex information. So they are a great learner in this aspect. And they assimilate information very quickly, both practical information as well as conceptual or theoretical knowledge. They prefer even deep analytical information, and they're going to make connections very quickly between real world and classroom knowledge. They're logical and analytical thinkers that really like solving problems, so they're great researchers. They like to learn, right? Which means they also like to research because they want answers. They enjoy demonstrating what they know, and so they're going to show their competence when they've been asked. They love to demonstrate their competence. They're stimulated by ideas and particularly focusing on applications or patterns that might cause them to really overlook some details. Another part to remember is that they're very independent. They value their autonomy. When we look at their classroom values or their classroom space, they value a classroom that is flexible and unstructured. Now, although they prefer an independent study, which is characteristic of most introverts, they really prefer some kind of general outline for their learning. They are very gifted learners in cognitive environments. Well, actually, they're gifted learners in just about any environment. They promote experimentation, inquiry, and questioning. That Socratic method, they really enjoy that. And they like assignments and tasks which are both innovative and original. And this is because they are very contemplative as a personality. They like to sit and contemplate and reflect on items. Now, although they can work alone, they can also work in groups. In fact, I would actually say they prefer to work alone. But they would be interested in discussion and brainstorming. Although they may not share a lot in these discussion and brainstorming sessions, they will definitely take a lot away because they are very observant and they like to be able to assimilate that information. When they are looking at what makes them most comfortable, remember we've touched on many of these things, but let's also include that they like reading, they like patterns, connections, creativity, problems, listening, observing, brainstorming, and unstructured learning environments. So what happens if you take this kind of a learner and you put them in a situation where they're uncomfortable? So their uncomfortable learning situation is structured, routine, repetition, a lot of summarizing. They feel like if you summarize that you're telling them they're too stupid to have gotten it on the first time around, and so they get offended. They do not like step-by-step instructions because it doesn't give them any room for imagination or details or innovation or creativity. Detailed, do not like to put them in the center of the attention, right? None of those things. And when you become or you introduce them to a classroom like this, or a learning situation where they're uncomfortable, they're going to be cynical, negative, sarcastic. They even may be destructively critical. They will isolate themselves and put off any kind of action. They won't take action. Another thing that's interesting is that they will actually become a verbal sparring partner and argue with people because they are no longer in their comfort zone. As an educator, you can help an INTP to create a connection between that classroom knowledge and world issues. Give them some current practical information. Remember that they're going to be very exasperated if you waste time, so make sure that you have no lag time between activities and that you come to class prepared. They have respect for very strong and logical teachers, and they prefer that over an interpersonal relationship. So they don't really care if you know their name as long as you are logical and know your stuff. They also will need to be encouraged to work in a group, and they benefit from interactions in these kind of cases, but they might need some incentives because they really do like to work independently. Remember that. They're all about the independence. So they also will enjoy some Q&A sessions. It really allows them to vocalize a little bit more. And although they're not a verbal learner, it's good to bring them out of their shell because remember that they're kind of detached observers. And by giving a Q&A system, you're allowing them to become unattached and to really dive into that learning environment. But the big thing to remember is that they don't like to be center of attention. So don't call on them unless they've already offered. As a learner, you are a very independent learner and you are a great learner. And it's really fun because you learn so quickly and easily. But don't forget that even though you love to learn and you really enjoy that alone time, that working in groups can really provide some value for you. So get to know your group members and your classmates and even some of your peers and really develop a respect for them. Create a reservoir of methodologies that are going to help you keep busy during some of the downtime because it's inevitable that you're going to have what you consider wasted class time. So if you have some reservoir of ideas or methodologies or something you can fall back on, you will not feel as if you have wasted time. And this is going to aid in your learning process, and it's really going to help you to not be irritated, and irritation is only going to distract you from your entire learning process. Use a variety of methods to brainstorm. Remember questions, record them, write them down so you don't forget about them. And if your instructor doesn't have a Q&A time during class, ask them, is it possible that we can have a question and answer time during class? Because that would really aid me. I think that really covers up this learner, but I think the biggest thing is really remembering to search for applications for new knowledge, and that's really done well for this type of a learner by using a learning journal where you're able to create and write down what you're learning and then immediately put down some applications as you see them.